the Ford Mark IV race car from 1967 is available in the Legendary Autos for 4.6 million credits. Now, this dude's going to go and tell me that it dominated Le Mans in 1967, but can it dominate Le Mans in the modern era? I'm going to buy the car and see what we can do with it. Strap yourself in, we're in for a wild ride in the World Touring Car Championship at Le Mans 700 series. So we had to detune this Le Mans winner to be below 700 pp. All of the details of that setup will be at the end of the video. I'll run through the exact tuning setup and what parts we had to purchase, but straight away we can just feel the car, you know, it just feels old. It's got long ratio gears. It doesn't quite have the positivity of all of the modern race cars, but we have seen have a good top speed. Now for this Le Mans race, it most often rains. God knows how much it actually rains because it's such a variable and dynamic weather conditions, but I'm pretty sure it's going to rain. I'm going to try, as we almost lose it coming through Tetra Rouge there, and I'm going to try my best to go as far as possible on the first stint. So right from the start of this race, I'm running fuel map 6. I'm going to be a bit down on power because of that, but this car seems to have really good top speed anyway, so I think we're good on power. The older cars and certainly the lower powered cars seem to be a lot more thirsty on fuel, so I'm not sure if I'm going to make it to lap 4, which I think is what I need for this strategy to work out. Look at the top speed of the car now compared to the Group 4 cars, which will dominate in the corners. We have a great top speed. We have to get on the brakes really quite early to get this car slowed down. The brakes aren't that good. I couldn't really add anything to the car with the tuning. It was already above 700 pp for this race, so I had to detune it with ballast. Now, this is probably the first time I've ever really done a commentary on a single player race. And to be honest, I don't like single player stuff. I rarely play single player, but to earn money in Gran Turismo 7, you do have to play single player. Slightly annoying, but I've got to say, I don't mind it that much. It's a very interesting race. I don't really get into any races with the AI. They just are on the track, and I try and either beat them or they beat me. But the race here is me and the car versus the track. Riding on board now, and we're going to flick through the MFD because lap 3 is about when this kind of dynamic weather starts to kick in. You can see cloud cover, there's a lot of cloud cover going on. We're running in fuel map 6 and it looks like we've got 2.1 laps to go, so I think we can get to the end of lap number 4. Quick check with the MFD for the radar, and no rain on the radar just yet, so we're fine to keep going, continue racing. We are 5 seconds off the lead of this race. I think when we start the race we're about 13 or 14 seconds off of the lead, so we have started to close in on the leaders. We are setting purple sectors, and we almost lose the rear of the car there through Tetra Rouge once again. Skipping forwards now, and the rain is starting to appear on the radar, but it's very light rain. I don't think there's anything to worry about just yet. I have acquired a track limits penalty for a track limits incident, but it's only half a second. That shouldn't really play much either way. 3-point-something seconds to the lead now, so we are closing in, but rain is on the track. Look at the rain meter, look at the weather radar. It's nothing to worry about just yet. On my goal for this race was to do a one-stop strategy, pit at the end of lap number 4. That should get me to the end of the race, but the rain always has an effect. It always plays into the strategy that you need to go with. But right now, the amount of rain in the air, the current tyres that I'm on will be just perfect, and no reason to pit at the end of this lap for tyres. What you will find in this race is that the AI drivers, or the majority of the AI drivers, pit at the end of lap number 3. They run out of fuel, they have to pit at the end of lap number 3. I think the Lamborghini can go to the end of lap number 4, but the significant leaders pit at the end of lap number 3, and that forces them to make their tyre choice for the weather right now, and they're going to come back out on dry tyres. I'm going to continue the race. I'll be pitting at the end of the next lap, and I'll keep an eye on the radar for the whole of this lap to make my tyre choice. Skipping forward to the end of lap number 4, I need to pit now. I've been keeping an eye on the radar, and the weather looks like the rain's gone. A little bit has passed over the track, but it's never been enough water on the track to mean that the dry tyres aren't the tyres to be on. So I'm going to pit. I'm going to fit a new set of racing hard tyres, there's a little bit of rain in the air, but I am going to go with racing hard tyres. I'm going to fill up the car and hopefully get to the end of the race. Not quite sure why my mechanics are using wheel guns on a car that's got wing nuts for wheel nuts, but I guess they got the job done. We're getting some fuel in the car now. We're going to fill it right to the top, and there's 12 minutes left in this race, so we should be able to easily make it to the end of the race. Exiting the pits now, and we are down in third position, 7 seconds off the lead, so they must have had a quick pit stop. Not sure whether they've got a smaller tank and or maybe they've not changed tyres during their pit strategy, but it is what it is. We know we've got pace to catch those guys, and that is our one and only stop for the race, and it's likely that they will need to pit again. Looking at the radar now, we are in the middle of some clouds and some rain. I'm not sure how this one's going to play out, in fact. That looks quite dangerous on the weather radar there. I've committed to these tyres, hopefully to the end of the race, but look at the radar now. You can see the heavy rain starting to get closer to the track, and not only is it rain, you can see the darker blue is heavy rain, and that's where it really becomes a problem. Skipping forward now to the point where I realised that we are going to have to make some emergency adjustments. The strategy is completely changing. Heavy rain is coming. Switch the engine to a maximum attack and try and do my best to catch these guys in the lead of the race, because I was planning on beating them on strategy and pit stop, but the rain is coming. I'm going to have to pit again. Those guys are going to have to pit again. This is a straight up fight to the end of the race. Fuel map 1, maximum attack, and the rain is starting to come down right now, so I've got to drive with maximum aggression but just caution at the same time. Difficult situation, but super fun to do. And everybody out on the track right now is on dry tyres, so who's going to deal with this the best? And we've got the Dodge Viper ahead now. We're going to send it to the on the brakes now. We're going to send it to the outside. He's been very cautious on the brakes there, so we're going to go around the outside of that Dodge Viper, get on the gas and use all of my engine map 1 to run this car to the red line down the straight. Hopefully it's reliable. I did buy it second hand. It's a very old car. Hopefully it's not going to fail me. It's still keeping on fuel map number 1. Looking at the amount of laps, that is going to be decreasing as we are really aggressively using the engine. Skipping forward to the pit stop. Crew are waiting and ready and getting completely soaked. The rain is properly coming down hard now. Off they go with their magical wheel guns to fit the intermediate tyres. I actually didn't buy the wet tyres. I only had intermediate available. I think they should be okay. No fuel for me. I'm going to run to the end of the race. My strategy was to run to the end of the race, and I'm very glad I got to the pits and changed my tyres. And now look at the wet track meter. Completely very wet track now, and we're going to really tiptoe around the track now and not try and drop the car. Rear wheel drive car. There are some four wheel drive cars in this race, and these Group 4 cars do have some four wheel drive cars, so they're going to be a huge threat for me. The Lamborghini Huracan that I think might come through strongly as the race progresses. And look now, the track is very wet. We've got a lot of work to do here. Back to fuel map 6, because we want to continue to be cautious with our fuel. Only 6 minutes remaining in this race, so it's a 2-lap sprint to the finish, and we've got a bit of a gap to second place, but a significant spin could really cost us on this one, so we do need to be cautious. Keep an eye out for standing water. We're only on the intermediate tyres, so they're not going to be perfect at clearing standing water at high speed, but with only 2 laps remaining. A little bit of swaz on corner X there, almost lost that one. With only 2 laps remaining, we're going to turn up the fuel map to 1 to try and just build the gap to the drivers behind. I don't think we have a problem with fuel. We've got more than half a tank of fuel, and we're going to run this car a bit faster down the straights, cautious on corner exits, and hope to try and build a gap to second place to give us that buffer if we have any issues. Skip is the balls now to the final lap of the race into Porsche curves, and the sun's come out, the track is dried, it's got a dry line, and I'm actually concerned about fuel. In fact, I'm really concerned about fuel. I'd not calculated for using the higher fuel map, and I didn't top up the car and went in for our intermediate tyres, so we've got 0.2 laps of fuel, 5% in the fuel tank, and we need to get to Ford chicane, and are we going to make it to the line? This could have been a huge error in my calculations here. So we're just going to put it in fuel map 6, really slow on the throttle. I think we should be good, to be honest. We cut it a lot finer than I would have liked to, but I think we're going to take this Le Mans winning car back to Le Mans and get the win. How cool is that, guys? Now, I'm not going to say this is a car I would recommend for this race. This was the closest race I've ever had in this WTC700 event at Le Mans, but we did get the win. So on screen right now is going to be the setup that I used to win this race. Here are all the parts that I used. The key things to point out here is I bought a power restrictor, the ballast. I also made sure I bought the wet weather tyres, so it was the intermediates that I chose, but full wets could also work okay. And on screen right now is the exact settings I used for the vehicle. The significant things to point out is the aerodynamics. I changed that a little bit. The camera angles also changed, and probably the biggest thing is the ballast. I added quite a bit of weight and set it mostly to the front. This seemed like a reasonable 700 pp setup for this vehicle, but I think compared to other 700 pp vehicles that you can make out of a GR4 car or a Group 3 car, then I don't think this is necessarily a competitive setup, and it certainly could be improved, but it certainly was fun to drive around the Le Mans track. I think that's going to be all for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you got this far in the video, then a huge shout out to you. Watch time is a key feature with helping YouTube to promote videos to other people on YouTube, so thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button if you have enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't already. On screen right now will be a link to another video which you may find very interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.